Hey guys, in today's video we're going to lay down the last fence T-post and we're going to talk about washes. We are two rebels off grid. The rebels are our dogs. And we moved out here to Cochise County and we are beginning our homesteading journey.
So we're almost to the end of this fence line. Now you can see it cleared up out here. It cleared out up here, actually, is how I should say that. Sorry, we've been up since 5. But the fence is right there that we're going to connect to, and you can see the red flag right there. And the weed trimmer, weed whacker ran out of gas, ran out of battery. So we're just doing it by hand with our loppers, and then we'll walk back down to where we got the car parked, which is about a half a mile, I guess, from here. Probably have a bite to eat and then come back out and finish weed whacking. You can see the tiny bit crooked, but essentially it goes right through there, right down the middle. Good morning. It's day 10 on the fence, and we are focusing completely today on clearing the last section of fence line, which is actually the most difficult to clear so far, but we're hoping it gets a little better as we get a little closer up. So we came down between those two mesquite trees right there, and then through the wash. We have a very large wash right there that you can see. We had a big storm last night, so the wash was running, and definitely some water coming through there. We've come up through here. We're going the way that Doug is pointing. That away.
Because there's no bushes and no trees.
Yeah, Doug's saying this might be his favorite part because we're getting to another high point in our property that's pretty it's close to the wash, but it's getting thinner as we go, so it's kind of nice. But it's so pretty up here. Can't you just picture cows out there? There is usually cows out there. That's the existing fence that we're going to connect to. Keep the cows off our property. Good thing we're not worried about snakes out here. Good morning. I think we're day 10 working on the fence. We were able to pretty much finish clearing the fence line yesterday. So today we're going to start dropping in the T-posts along this last stretch, and then we have to do a tiny bit of clearing, but it's pretty much done. So here's the T-posts. I think we figured out we have to put in 102 of them, and we had some huge storms the last couple nights. 2 nights ago, coming into our neighborhood, there's washes that go through the neighborhood, and we happen to have a particularly bad wash at the end of our road, and it washed the road out to the extent that we're probably not going to be able to get out there this week in the trailer, or out here this week in the trailer, because we can get our car through it okay, but I think we're deciding that getting in with the trailer is not going to be a good idea until that road is fixed. So we're not really sure how or when that's going to get fixed. Anyhow, that's what we're doing today. We'll update you again in just a little bit.
So I wanted to bring you up here on our property to talk about the monsoons and their cause and effect. It's the monsoons derive from the Gulf of Mexico and the Baja Peninsula, and they converge here in southern Arizona. The extent of these monsoons only reach at the most northern part, Tucson, Arizona, But down here in Cochise County, it is an event that takes place between, I believe, June and September, and it comes to bring us most of our rain for the year. It brings its benefits of greening up this place, but it also has its destructive forces because of the sheer nature of these monsoons. The way that they rain is not just a normal rain. They come down in buckets. They become these super cumulus clouds, and they just funnel down these big pillars of water upon the land. And the bad effects of this is when it hits that ground, it actually hits it so hard that it leaves a crust. And this crust actually makes it impenetrable for the water to soak into like normal places would be. So is what happens at the top of the watershed. We'll take this little hill, for instance. The top of this watershed, the rain will just hit it so hard that it has nowhere to go. It doesn't seep, so it begins to sheet flow, and it'll sheet flow over this entire area here. And as what it does is it just forms these micro little tributaries that are unnoticeable at the moment in the ground, and gravity allows this to go downhill. And we'll take you to the next stage of this. So the next stage after sheet flow is micro trenches. That's what I call them. I don't know if that's a scientific method of it, but here it's obvious where you have runoff and nothing to slow it down. It will form these small little channels here. And these are micro at this level. But they're gradually getting bigger, and they're also converging together with other ones along its journey. So at this stage, the channels start getting bigger, and this is where it starts taking on its destructive property. So you're going to start having rocks exposed, ground covers disintegrating. Stuff is starting to roll downhill until you get to something like this, which is the next bigger stage, in which this is a prime example of a beginning tributary for the alluvion fans, where they start fanning out like fingers. It brings down large amounts of sand, which will destroy any kind of intervention that you try to put in place. How's these monsoons been affecting us personally on our property that you've seen?
Well, the biggest way they're affecting us right now are part of our road coming up to our driveway has washed out to the point that we cannot bring our RV up here. So what's that done for us personally is make it so that we're stuck at the RV park that we've been staying at. We were supposed to move out here last week, but we can't until we get our road fixed. And the other way that's affecting us is we're not able to bring in a water truck to fill up our cisterns because we don't have our rain collection in place yet. Just we have the cisterns, but until we have the collection in place, we're going to need to have water trucked in for the time being. Probably until the next monsoon season, which will be early in 2023.
Alright, so at this point, in this stage, as these washes come down from that watershed up there, the forces become more substantial, and they tend to do a lot more destruction. So they will wipe out your culverts, they'll wipe out your road at this point, and leaving only destruction. But there's something that you'll have to maintain constantly if it's not done properly the first time. One of the benefits though, all these plants that run along the wash are watered extremely well, and things tend to live here more than any other parts of the desert. So you'll see more wildlife gathering around these washes. And the washes are only filled for minutes at a time. So they come down very destructive, and yet they live for only a short while. They don't pool up, they don't pond up very much, but they do, like I said, leave destruction. So another thing I'd like to mention is that with these washes, they do have a vital role in the ecosystem. They bring down all the minerals from up on those mountains, and they bring it all down here, run it down in large amounts. All this is nutrient rich, mineral rich, and it goes down into the valley, down far below, and makes all those farms down there very viable. But as you can see, these washes have gotten to a point of destruction that they care not how you maintain the flow that they want to go. They just go where they want to go. And they bring down trees, they bring down bushes, they wipe out roads, put in sinkholes, and the destruction is fairly obvious. As you can see, this is our second biggest wash, but I'll show you our biggest one. So I'm standing up here on a huge berm, and this is the intervention that they've done before for maintaining this road. They just built a big berm, and when the washes and the rain is at its highest, the monsoon season comes, this hole from the point I'm standing here to the point all the way down there fills up with water. So you can imagine about 10 feet of water comes right through here, bringing all those tonnage of sand and minerals and nutrients, and floods this whole area. So this video doesn't show you the extent of the damage done. The plants here have deep tap roots that get past the caliche and hold them firm to the ground. So they for the most part stick around, they don't go anywhere. I'm going to show you our largest wash, and I just want to say right now, I'm not complaining about this. This is just one of those things I'm taking the good and the bad, right? It's a beautiful thing, but it's also very powerful and destructive, these washes are, and it's something that you're probably going to witness yourself if you move here to Arizona. So here's that alluvion fan effect going on, which is, like I said, it's like my fingers. My palm of my hand would be the top of the watershed where you have sheet flow, and eventually it tributaries down into these fingers and eventually finds its way down. But here is a wash where you can see this old tree here has managed to grip on to dear life to hold in firm and strong, right? But this wash is ginormous. It's probably a 4-lane highway, basically. And it's just delivered all this sand down here. And the destruction is not so obvious, but these things cut new paths. Every year, this whole thing can up and move half a mile down the road. It's not a permanent feature. If it's water, right? It's gonna move to the next low spot. So you figure this sand banks up and banks up and banks up, and eventually it's not the low spot anymore, right? So the water will spill over and form a new channel, maybe 2 channels, maybe 3 or 4. But guys, I just wanted to tell you, this is Arizona, this is their washes. Learn to live with it if you're gonna move down here. It will get in your way, especially if you have a road that crosses one of these. It's something we're gonna have to be very creative on finding means to get through it. Like Keri had mentioned, it's more or less to get water pumped into our property and to get an RV back there. But after that, we're hoping to eventually be self-sufficient, right? We're working on that, so we don't have to, we can literally get trapped in here probably for a while and not have to worry as much, right? But no matter where you live, there's things that happen. If you live in the Northeast, you have snow that keeps you in the house for a week. If you live in the South, I'm sure the heat can keep you in for a week. It's just relative to where you live. You gotta deal with it.
Today we're continuing to work on the fence line. We actually discovered we were a little off on our property boundary, so we actually were losing some property by where we were putting the fence, but it's kind of cool because now we have this trail that we can walk up and easily drop off posts. So that's where we ended last night, and we're going to proceed on down that way towards that white post, and then up and over this hill through a gigantic wash and then up that hill. So we'll see how far we get today.
It goes fast that way. Shit.
This is how we're getting our line straight. Got the tape measure. Doug's sinking them every 20 feet.
Woo.
It's pretty hot this morning. Actually, it's not that hot. It's probably 80s, but it's pretty humid this morning. We got another monsoon last night. We're going along the fence line, and then you probably can't see it, but it goes up and over that hill. Well, there happens to be a wash, a really wide, like road-sized wash that comes down from our property, and it kind of runs just to the left of the fence line. And instead of hauling all the posts up the fence line, which is almost a half a mile, we're just loading the posts in the back of the car. We tested out the wash, and we're just gonna drive them up the wash and unload them way closer to where we need them to be. It's gonna save us a crap ton of time, which is pretty awesome.
The wash is your friend.
The wash is your friend, Doug says. Sometimes, not when it's
destroying your property.
Yeah, not when it's running, and it's your mortal enemy. There's a few low-hanging branches that we've got to clip out of the way that are on our property, and then I think we're going to take up a few spools of barbed wire, maybe? We'll see. Yep, Doug says yep. So that's our shortcut for today. We're always trying to, we do like to do things the hard way, but we also try to find ways to work harder, not smarter, where we can, if it doesn't involve spending money. Here's the wash that we're driving up. And we don't recommend driving up washes, but today, all the water that would be coming, most of the water coming down this wash is coming from this hill, and there's literally no clouds except way over there, but that wouldn't affect us. We also feel pretty comfortable doing this because the car that we've got is super sand friendly. We could have some better tires on it for this, but working with what we've got. So we made it up the wash. We had to cut a few little branches out of the way, but now we're going to start hauling these posts down our property line, which goes up that way. We just saved ourselves a ton of time, which is pretty awesome. Good morning. Today is a big day for us because we are finally crossing the final big wash. This is our big wash. We are setting our fence posts in, and the top of our property line is not that far. Maybe 500 feet at the most, I'm guessing. So we're gonna get this wrapped up today with the posts, which is awesome. Don't want to be on the other side of this wash if it starts running. Yeah.